Hi everyone. I'm so happy for this opportunity once again to say hello and just to welcome you into Jamaica, Negril, Jamaica. This is Jackie's on the Reef and my name is Jackie. And I have the wonderful opportunity to introduce you to JJ Gormley. She is a yoga instructor and she has her own type of yoga that she does. It's just really amazing. She's really using the breath and helping people to open up and just move forward in their lives. Welcome, JJ. It is for the second time to have you back at Jackie's on the Reef.
It's my pleasure. I started yoga in 1979 by my roommate at the time gave us both for Christmas in '78 class tickets to take a session of yoga. And I actually went kind of kicking and screaming. I thought that was the worst gift ever. It was more a gift for her than for me.
Well, I see that you have a special particular style, technique. Did you've created this technique based on other teachings or?
Yes, I've studied from so many different traditions out there, and I just take what I like from each and it gets infused together and comes out however it comes out.
Well, it does very, very good. You've infused a lot. Many of the positions I recognize, and many of them I have never seen. So you've really created your own little style. In fact, the other day, I think one of the students who is not one of your students, one of the people who was attending your class asked you what form. And you said you didn't know, and I piped up JJ's form, Can you give me a little description of really what is coming out of you and how you feel about what you are doing?
Well, I like to do flows, and breath-centered. So the breath is important. There's a movement that's on the inhale and a movement that's on the exhale, and then just flowing from one movement to the next, to the next, to the next. Sometimes a bunch of movements on one side and then repeat them on the other side, and just kind of getting into a nice flow. Another aspect of my practice and my teaching is to be a permission giver. Permission to be where you're at, to be comfortable where you're at, and maybe move into something new, but it still needs to be quite comfortable.
Wow.
And so when you hear that you have permission to be where you're at, that you're maybe can't touch your toes and nobody's forcing you or making you or comparing you to someone else, which some teachers do in yoga. I don't teach like that.
also noticed, for instance, I used to be a teacher. I stopped teaching, actually doing yoga. And the other day, it was the first time in a year that I've taken a yoga class with you. And I felt out of place, but yet and still, you were so gentle but with everyone until I felt as if, well, I'm not being judged. And I also feel very comfortable in this position. So there were a couple of things I was having a problem. My legs are so long, to get my legs back into that, what is that one with the front foot back and the leg out and leaning. To come back from downward dog, my little leg, this one leg is so long. So, and hips have gotten older, so it was difficult. But I felt very comfortable being out of sorts doing it. And, you know, you didn't judge, you didn't force me to do anything. It was just very, very great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you bring the breath piece in, a breath-centered practice and keeping your mind coming back to the breath, am I breathing? That helps us know, oh yeah, I can do this, I'm breathing. When we're doing difficult things, we hold the breath. But if you hear the breath cue, and also that movement in and out, easing into it, and then only coming, into a straighter leg or opening sideways or coming into it deeper if it feels good. Otherwise, it's fine to stay where you're at.
Interesting because the other day I heard some of your students talking about the breath, and I chirped up telling how I teach the breath, and but then everybody shut down on me. I noticed that nobody said anything or responded. So I thought about that night, and I said, well, maybe there's something else. Then I remembered that you and I had a discussion about the breath last year, and so I spoke to you, and you were saying that you originally had learned this type of breath. But now there's so many other scientific teachings about the breath. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Well, there's hundreds of different kinds of breath in yoga, and many traditions teach one of those types of breath and say this is the be-all, end-all. This is the way to breathe. And then you go to another tradition, and they're teaching like the exact opposite or some other breath. Another tradition this way. And I remember, I think it was like in '92 or something, this guy who had a email posting thing going on called the E-Sutra, Leslie Kaminoff, and he posted and asked the question of all the yoga teachers who joined this listserv, what's the right way to breathe? And of course, everybody from each tradition types in, this is the way to breathe. And I typed in that all the people who think this way need to be breathing this way, and if you think this way, you need to be breathing this way. Because yoga is really about balance. And we do these poses to try to find where am I tight and where am I loose. And the idea is not to do the poses that continue to make you more loose where you're already flexible, or tighter where you're already tight, but the opposite. And so we do our asana practice, the yoga poses, to balance the physical body.
Okay.
And same thing needs to be the way we look at the breath. If you're breathing only one way, that's not helping your body balance. So pick some of the other ways. And so this week we did 4 main types of breath, or basic types of breath: belly breathing, chest breathing, belly to chest, and chest to belly, describing the inhales. And I asked everybody just to notice which is the easiest breath pattern for you and which is the most difficult. And then that tells you this way of breathing, the easier one is closer to your habit, to your pattern. It's like a well-worn path, to borrow from M. Scott Peck, whose title of his book is The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, right.
We need to find the road less traveled in our breath pattern. So it's like you've worn this pathway down with a particular breath. The grass is all folded over. The path starts to get barer and barer and barer and worn and worn and worn. And so to do another breath is difficult. But pretty soon, if you keep practicing it, the grass will start to lay down and stay down and then get a little more worn, a little more worn. And the more balanced the yogi, the more every one of those types of breath will be easy and they can drop into it. One breath here, the next breath there, the next breath there, and the next breath there. Where when you're first learning it, it takes several breaths to transition to the next one. Then several breaths to transition. But as you put more of those breaths in your back pocket, they're a well-worn path. And that's the idea.
I noticed also, I think today that you were talking about, or I think it was yesterday or today, if you move, then you feel the breath here in your back or something of that sort. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah, so I teach this, I didn't teach it this week, but I teach this one where you imagine your torso is like a house. And you have 5 levels of your house: the lower belly below the navel, the upper belly above the navel, the lower ribs, the mid ribs, and the top ribs by your collarbones. And those are the different floors, or this is the attic and the basement kind of thing. And then there are rooms on the left side and rooms on the front and rooms in the back.
Oh.
And so if you imagine the center, the breath coming down right through the center of the house, like a chimney, but the chimney has an opening that's able to turn and blow into one room, blow into another room, blow into another room and another room, and slide up and down to each floor. And so you do this like a meditation practice of sliding that opening of the chimney up and down, floor by floor, and turning it, and discover which rooms are closed off, and when the air tries to come in there, it's like the door is shut. Which rooms are fully open and it's already open and aired out. Which rooms are maybe open but it feels a little cobwebby. And the idea is to use your breath to start to get the breath under the door and start to clean it out, and then maybe the door will open a crack, and then sooner or later you get the door open more.
So have you started doing a book, writing a book, or have you written a book?
I'm in the process of writing a book called Holistic Healing Through Yoga.
Very, very interesting.
It's almost done. Should be done probably this is 2015. It'll probably be done this year and then maybe published next.
You know, because what I noticed when I first started teaching way back, I started this business in '87. And there were, you know, at that time, very few people were doing yoga. And I just noticed that it's gotten to be almost a fad, yoga. But then I say to myself, that's good anyway. Because, so what, if people are doing yoga right now, you know, or they're going to the gym to do yoga, or they're going to the studios to do yoga, and it's just to meet somebody or just to be around people, that's okay too, because eventually one day maybe they will take it serious. But the thing of it is, I find that many of the teachers are not teaching the breath, and the breath is the key to movement, you know, being able to release wherever the tension is with the breath. So, you know, your classes are quite wonderful because you're helping people to learn how to open up, breathe correctly, and also move freely. kind of information on your website and how you can be reached, and where you will be, where you, because I think you travel all over to do workshops. So can you just give us a little bit of your information?
Well, I have a school, Surya Chandra Healing Yoga School. It's a mouthful. It's in Sanskrit. Surya means sun and Chandra is moon, and then it's healingyogaschool.com. Or my personal page is yoginijj.com. So I just do one or two retreats a year, like yoga vacations a year, one outside of the country and one inside the country. And then every month I travel and teach teachers. So I run teacher training programs.
So these are your teachers that you've taught all over.
Yeah.
And so at this point, so how long have you been doing this? For how many years?
I started practicing in 1979 and didn't really get like a regular practice going like daily until probably 84, 86 or so. And then I started teaching in 89. Been teaching ever since.
Well, you're doing very, very well. It's really quite extraordinary.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, JJ, and it's been quite a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Serving you. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.